come before you today in humble thanks for the freedoms that we enjoy in this land. Liberties purchased for us by soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard. People who loved this country more than life itself. Others have given up everything so that we can live free, to chart our own course, and to select futures for ourselves and for our children. Hold us accountable, O Lord, that in the end we prove ourselves worthy of what they have sacrificed, to give us all through your divine guidance. May we be found faithful to you and engaged with each other in the preservation and attainment of the great opportunities thus afforded to us. Grant, we pray, your comfort, mercy, and grace to those mourning the personal loss of those who sacrificed all for us. Hear us as we pray this humble and contrite prayer. Amen.
The people of Port Richmond helped create America through the bravery and sacrifice of our 18th and 19th century veterans. When Benjamin Franklin was asked after a session of the Constitutional Convention, "What kind of a government have you given us?" he replied, "A democracy, if you can keep it." Well, we have been able to keep it, thanks to the 20th and 21st century veterans we honor today. We can never repay them, not only for their service, but also for their strength of character and love of country, family, and life itself that led them to contribute far beyond their enlistments and to their civilian lives. This was the way, too, with Port Richmond's 18th and 19th century veterans. The veterans of the American Revolution lie in repose over there. There's one in front of the church under the sidewalk. The veterans of 1812 are in repose over there, and the veterans of the Civil War are back almost to Maple Avenue. So imagine, George Washington personally asked one of our congregants to leave his two teenage sons, 19 and 17, on occupied Staten Island to spy for him. It was Joshua Merzero. He and the two boys said yes. Father and both sons got out alive. One of the sons lived to be 100. Today, Joshua from Port Richmond is cited on the Central Intelligence Agency website as a founder of American intelligence. This church had been on this spot almost 100 years when on July 2nd, 1776, General Howe began landing his troops at the watering place in Tompkinsville to make preparations for the coming battle. Eventually, as many as 30,000 troops occupied Staten Island, waiting for what would become the Battle of Long Island. We call it the Battle of Brooklyn, right? The British considered our entire Port Richmond Dutch Reformed congregation to be so seditious that they put this church on America's first battle map as a seat of action. And there's a reproduction of the map in the lobby out back when you go see. And that's how important we were on the first battle map of this country. Now we see 20th and 21st century contributions today in the biographies of our banner veterans. They include several of the greatest generation who won World War II in combat, in major battles, and in unwavering support action on land, on sea, and on the home front. They came home to become the backbone of the world's most powerful nation. A descendant of the last slave sold on Staten Island, who was a community leader for all of his 99 years. An immigrant who won his 3-year battle to become the first undocumented lawyer in the state of New York. A man who was on the road to Roman Catholic sainthood. His biography is illustrated in our book by Holy Cards because all of his other pictures are at the Vatican. A man whose family have been members of this congregation since 1696. Two men, just 19 years old, who made the ultimate contribution. They were killed in action in Vietnam and Iraq. And last but absolutely not least, three women, each of whom contributes to our community every day. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the person who made this all happen, Mario Buonfiato.
I thank you to all the past and present military service. I thank you for taking the time out, and your families, you deserve a round of applause. I have a place upstate which I go to escape, and I noticed a growing trend of these military banners. First thought comes to mind, Port Richmond, Staten Island, all the way up 3 hours away. I noticed it in another small town on Main Street. I noticed how the community got involved, they all participated, and they brought this beautiful banners on the main streets of these little towns in upstate New York. I brought it down to Staten Island. I spoke to it at the board, a couple of small business owners, everyone was in support. I take no credit for the accomplishment. All the credit goes to Mary Bullock, Barbara Sanchez, and Deidre Ty Erdek. The reason why I felt that the military banner event would be successful here is because Port Richmond holds the highest enrollment in military history dating back to Civil War up to the present campaign. We also hold not one, not two, but 3 Purple Heart recipients that I know of in the Port Richmond area. We would like to remind that another reason, of many reasons, this military banner event was done. It was because of the veterans. And because of the veterans, today we can all live the way we want. Today we have the freedom of rallies, of parades, of protests. Because of the veterans, we have the freedom to say whatever we want. Because of the veterans, we can enjoy our families in a peaceful and in a calm neighborhood all across the United States. And for that, again, I want to say thank you. To the veterans, past, present, active, I personally salute you, and I thank you for your service.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about my nephew, my godson, Nils George Thompson. He was born on August 3rd, 1986, to Nils and Frances Kamenowski Thompson. He was a deeply religious Catholic and Christian, a New Brighton native who grew up playing with G.I. Joes. He dreamt of joining the military, as Mario did. As a young boy, as his grandfather, his uncles, and his aunts had all served. Nils attended St. Teresa's Elementary School and St. Stanislaus Kostka Church. In 2000, he moved with his family to Confluence, Pennsylvania, a farming community southeast of Pittsburgh, where they raised cattle, sheep, goats, chicken, and eventually ran a bed and breakfast, Hannah House, from their home. Nils loved the outdoors, riding his four-wheeler on their 100-acre farm, climbing ropes and trees with his cousins and his friends, and helping his dad build fences, sheds, a new porch, a tree house, and tending the livestock. He graduated from Turkey Foot Valley High School. As soon as he turned 18, he enlisted in the Army, becoming a member of the Stryker Brigade based out of Fort Lewis, Washington. He loved to read the Bible and attended Bible study up until his death. His squad members and his squad chaplain said they witnessed Nils talking about the gospel to others, trying to bring them closer to Jesus. In February 2005, he was deployed to Iraq. In his brief time in the military, he received the Army Service Ribbon, the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary and Service Medals, and the National Defense Service Medal. He was killed by sniper attack in a guard hatch position in the Stryker vehicle on August 4th, 2005, a day after his 19th birthday. He was survived by his parents and his sister Lillian. Nils's platoon had been scheduled to return to the States that October. He told his cousin Jeff, "When I return, I want to buy $100 worth of my favorite Ralph's Ice." Nils loved life, and he lived it to the fullest. He always had a positive attitude and a smile to go along with it, no matter what came his way. Today, I honor Nils George Thompson and all the veterans who have served and are still serving, fighting for our freedoms, and especially those who have sacrificed their lives. I thank Port Richmond Strong for sponsoring the Veterans Banners program of honoring our military. This is a strong, active group, and I look forward to working with you to assist in your initiatives. Thank you.
When I first heard about the flag project being organized by Port Richmond Strong and Mary Bullock, I thought of the guys I grew up with at Port Richmond. John Brown was one of them. He was killed in action in Vietnam at 19 years of age, over 50 years ago. Last time I saw John, he was in uniform, standing on post at Richmond Avenue, waiting for the bus to get into the city. 3 months later, he died. Yet, John's memory seems to have lasted forever. His mother would sit with my mother on our front porch and talk like old friends do. John was adopted, she'd say. And because of him, I later had 2 other children. A hard thing to say in the late 50s. She would also add, John was a great basketball player. Simple stuff. After his death, she would still sit and talk without any self-pity or anger. She remained a courageous woman who lived with the death of a son. When Mary asked me to say something about my boyhood friend, I thought it would be easy and then maybe dramatic. But what it became was an honor to mention his name and see how a neighborhood can remember someone who gave his young life for the country along with so many others. Thank you, Mary Bullock, Port Richmond Strong, and the Dutch Reformed Church for remembering these brave young men and John Brown.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, I would imagine. It's really amazing to look out at all of you and be here today. I'm very proud to be here, and I know many of the veterans in the church, and I'm so proud to be standing side by side with each and every one of you. There are 28 banners on Port Richmond Avenue. These banners represent veterans who served stateside, as well as in World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, and Iraq. These banners represent brave men and women who served in all branches of the military, including one Navy chaplain who will one day be a saint, Father Capodanno. I am humbled to be one of these veterans. I wanted to share my experience as a member of the Army Nurse Corps. When I was a child, I wanted to be a nurse. That was the only thing I wanted to be. And I wanted to go into the Army because my father was in the Army and he was so proud to be a World War II veteran. And I thought, well, heck, one of the children have to follow in his footsteps. My older brother served in the Marine Corps, and he went to Vietnam about a year and a half before me. Thank God he came home. I was the only daughter, and my mother was not very happy with my career choice. Although she was very proud of me, she worried about my safety. After graduating from nursing school, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army Nurse Corps. Going into the military was an exciting and frightening experience. Going to basic training down in San Antonio, Texas, was my first experience on an airplane. It was my first experience being away from home, far, far away from home, with a bunch of strangers. I thought to myself, oh boy, what did I get myself into? Yet, when I went down there, the Army trained me, as well as 300 other military personnel, doctors, nurses, technicians, and whatnot, how to care for our troops. And I was very impressed with what they taught me and how I learned many different things. In boot camp, even though we were in the medical corps, we learned many things: how to shoot a .45, how to go through the gas chamber, how to throw grenades, and I was happy to say that I didn't have to utilize any one of those things in my military experience. I was initially stationed at Patterson Army Hospital in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. Now that's not there anymore. After a year at Patterson Army, I received orders. Many of you will remember in 1968, the Tet Offensive occurred. Well, this resulted in women nurses being stationed in Vietnam. Prior to that, no woman received orders for Vietnam. So in November of 1969, I got on this big Pan Am plane with 299 other troops heading to Southeast Asia. I remember looking at all these soldiers, some of them so young, and some of them very seasoned, but wondering, I wonder if we're all going to make it back home. Unfortunately, many didn't. My first night in Vietnam was a real eye-opener. I was walking around the compound with one of the nurses, and the sky was all lit up. And I said to her, you know, I think we're getting a thunderstorm tonight here, you know. I was so naive, I have to tell you. A soldier was passing by and said to us, "Ma'am, that is a mortar." And I said, "That's a mortar? Oh my God." I had no idea what a mortar sounded like, but I'll tell you, I'll never forget the sound of them even today. I realized this is the real thing. I'm here. But yet I also realized that my lifelong dream to be an Army nurse was being fulfilled. I was frightened at times. I'm not going to say I wasn't. But the purpose of my being there was to care for those, patients in those beds. We cared for, of course, the American soldiers, Vietnamese, Australian, and I'm sure many other different areas who had their troops come. And it was an honor, and it was a privilege to be in the hospital caring for these young men and women. There were women in Vietnam, not as many, of course, as the men, but there were. Sometimes, unfortunately, there wasn't too much we can do for some of the soldiers, but be there with them, hold their hand, and say you're not alone. Unfortunately, I had many experiences like that. We worked 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. We actually wore white uniforms, which was a bear to keep clean. Like I say, I had the privilege of meeting many soldiers. We would listen, well, many of you remember back in the day, we didn't have all these fancy schmancy things that we have now, but we used to make these little tapes, little 3-inch, 5-inch tapes. We'd make tapes back and forth. I remember receiving them myself, as well as sending them to my brother when he was in Vietnam. But that kept you connected to home, knowing that regardless of what was happening back home, and we all remember many negative things that were happening, you knew that your family loved you, they cared for you, and they couldn't wait for you to get back home. After my tour in Vietnam, I came back, worked in the Brooklyn VA because I wanted to continue caring for my troops. Many people over the years have asked me, gee, you know, Mary, if you had the chance and the opportunity to go back, would you do it? Absolutely. It's not even a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, and I don't know of any nurse who would make a different response. We were proud to be there. Regardless of the climate in politics or anything like that, my job was to care for that troop. That was the only thing that I had to do and I wanted to do. To be recognized today with the other veterans is truly an honor, and it is most appreciated. I appreciate all the hard work that the committee has done and Port Richmond Strong. And like I say, in my heart, this is very, very special for all of us veterans. Being a veteran is an honor. It's probably one of the highest honors we can have. And once you're a veteran, nobody can ever take that away from you. You're always proud to have served your country. We must always recognize those who came before us, as well as those who are serving today. It is so important to let them know that we care and we are proud of them, because we all know freedom is not free. Thank you very much.
What a beautiful day. My name is Barbara Sanchez. I'm a member of the banner team along with Mary Bullock and Deirdre Tyradell. Deirdre is a good friend of mine from high school. We went to St. John Villa together, we worked on the yearbook. And when I called her and told her what I was doing here in Port Richmond, she graciously volunteered to do all the graphic design for this project. So this booklet, the banners on the fence, and of course the banners of Port Richmond Avenue were all done by Deirdre, and we could not have done this without her. When Deirdre, Mary, and I started this project, we knew it was going to be a feel-good project and something that we would be proud of. But as we started reading the biographies and looking at the pictures and hearing from the family and the sponsors, we started to realize this is historic. It's powerful and it's really important. This was an opportunity for families to celebrate and honor their loved ones and to share their family history and their legacy. I know from my own experience, my grandfather served in World War II. He never talked about his experience in the war, so this is a great opportunity to share this history. It's also a chance for communities to thank their veterans, not only for what they did for our country, but what they continue to do here in the community. On behalf of the banner team, Deirdre, myself, and Mary, we thank you for the opportunity to work on this project. It really meant a lot to us, and today is what a beautiful day. So now I'll read the honor roll of today's honored veterans. Some of the veterans being honored are no longer with us. and some couldn't be with us here today. But for those who are here, please stand when you hear your name, and if you're a family representing one of the veterans, please stand as well. Kenneth C. Amtrudo, George W. Brown Jr., John T. Brown, Father Vincent R. Capodanno, Richard R. Carreras, Chrissy J. Quinini, Frank D'Agostino, Anthony J. Delano Sr., George Coquel, Anthony J. Lepardo, Joseph A. Labrizzi, Frank J. Mango, Yesenia Matta, Mary Lamana McClune, Joseph F. Malazzo, William A. Morris Jr., Dominic Mosa, James J. Mulligan, Charlie Navarino, Jerome X. O'Donovan, Joseph Parisi, Michael Petrizzo, Francis W. Quinn, Diana Ramos, Mills George Thompson, John V. Ty, Andrew M. Tuff, and Cesar Vargas.